It's just us radio show. So many stories to be told. Vision so clear. The more we hear, life unfolds. No matter where you are, from near or from afar. Now is the time to go for what we know. The It's Just Us radio show.
Hi, I'm Charlene Bowden. Welcome to the It's Just Us radio show. Yes, this is the radio show. I know that you can see me now. We're doing some new things this year, and I'm glad to have you being a part of the show again and again. Thank you so much. We're going into our 6th year. Want to do some new things and let you see our guests from time to time. We're on location today. I'm with Gareth Hunter. Welcome to the show, Gareth.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. So Gareth is a musician, a songwriter, a composer, a producer, and a philanthropist. Just to give you, that's just a little bit of what you do. So let's expand that. Tell us about Gareth Hunter.
Musically, it's something I've been doing my entire life, as far as I can remember. Started in my father's band at age 3. I was born in 1973. My resume goes back to 1977. So I'm what people termed as a child prodigy. By age 8, I was a drummer, and by age 8, I was playing with like Florida State University Jazz Band. This was during a time that, nowadays you can walk in on churches and you've got all these little kids playing drums, whatever.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, back there in my era of growing up, you didn't have a lot of small kids playing drums, so it was very unique for me to be doing that. But as a person, I have a passion for taking my art form and actually putting a message with it, and hopefully changing some lives, getting people to conversate about things they normally wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then also take that and be able to do some good with it with nonprofits. I had a song last year that was a theme song for domestic violence program, and that was featured on Bobby Jones' gospel show, and that was used to generate funds for them. I'm part of an organization that picks up the food that restaurants actually throw out.
Okay.
And instead of throwing it out, we actually coordinate that with nonprofits that feed homeless.
Nice.
So, like the last photo shoot I did was on a bridge that homeless people live on. And I was able to coordinate with a nonprofit to actually include that bridge to take clothing and food and things of that nature on a regular basis to that bridge. And actually 2 of the guys ended up getting in rehab and some other stuff. So
That's good.
I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of me.
That's kind of you.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you mentioned was around getting people to talk and communication and coming together and just working it out. And that's what we want to talk about today. You have a very intriguing project that you're working on. And so I wanted to dedicate this, well, not dedicate, but I wanted to give this show to you in its entirety, because it's a lot to talk about. And I really wanted to take our time and talk through it and reach some people who may be dealing with some of these things. Now, let me say up front, Gareth is not coming as an expert. No. He's not coming as an expert, but coming with some, I'm sure, some life experiences, or at least having people in your circle that have had the life experiences. I've had the experiences, and we're just going to talk about it. So the name of your project is Blemishes of Perfection. Tell us about the project, how it came to be, and why you wanted to do it.
Blemishes of Perfection, before it was titled Blemishes of Perfection, was actually a one song called What Do You Do? I don't sing on the material. I'm the creative person behind it. So it was 2 friends of mine, Zuri Craig and Jeffrey Lewis. Most people would know them from a lot of the Tyler Perry stage plays the last 3 or 4 years. We recorded that song. We actually have recorded that song probably 6 times. Because with at least 3 label deals they had, we recorded it for those labels too.
Okay.
And it just didn't go anywhere. But it started with that one song when I wanted to do what I call a Quincy Jones style release, which is myself as a producer, composer, writer, featuring different artists. And of course, what was amazing to me was the response from the initial release was very good. I mean, it was mind-blowing to me. So with the whole process of the single, in order to grow that into something larger, no one wanted to pick up just a single. So when I was talking to distribution companies, other promoters, labels, I had to grow an album of at least 10 songs. So that's how it developed into more than just one single. And I wanted to make it interesting. So there was a friend of mine, Colette Harris, who's an actress. I wanted to just dialogue with her and put maybe one or two in between the songs. So from that, with the conversation we had, which we portrayed a husband and wife going through issues, that kind of opened my eyes to, wow, I want to see how I can take this relationship issue and put a storyboard musically to it. And that led me to what I call real life scoring, which is pretty much to take real theme issues, real life issues, and literally score music behind it with full, with lyrics, vocals, and all of that. So as the songs began to grow and I looked at it, I began to see it as Blemishes of Perfection, which is really talking about how through life experiences for a couple, as they grow, mature, they have their ins and outs, ups and downs, that the perfection is through the blemishes. The perfection is actually getting to the other side of the blemish in the relationship and being able to still be there together.
Well, okay.
So that's kind of how that came about.
So what I want us to do now is to take a break, and I want us to play What Do You Do for the audience. And when we come back, so you did not mention the video?
With the video for the song?
Dialogue, yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue. Yeah, well, the dialogue is actually, it's a total of, I edited it down to a total of 24 minutes. But the dialogue was supposed to be just one or two interludes. And when I got back to edit everything that me and Colette Harris had done, it was such an intense process to me that I didn't want to just have that footage just not go anywhere. So I did an edit on it. I actually put a score underneath it, and it's actually the first scene is on my website. And I recruited some professionals in the field of relationships. The first one is Eden Adele, who is a relationship expert based out of Minneapolis, I do believe. She's the first person to do the response, but I've got her, some psychiatrists, some life coaches, a couple of pastors that have taken all the 24 minutes of relationship and actually broken them down as if it's a real relationship. And they respond to it with, this is the problem I see, this is what I feel that this couple could do to fix it, so that couples that actually hear the dialogue that are having similar issues can actually take some of that advice onto their own relationship. So that's like the backstory behind the whole album. So
okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to play What Do You Do now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of those issues that are presented throughout your project.
Gotcha.
Okay, we'll be right back.
When you went away, all I could do was say goodbye. I looked at you and smiled, 'cause I wasn't gonna cry, babe. I always thought that we would be together. How in the hell could you break my heart when you know just what I'm feeling? You love another one. What do you do?
What do you do when you love someone? What do you say when it's not returned? If loving you makes you walk away,
what can I do?
What do I do to make you stay? What can I do to feel alright? How can I make it through the night? If it takes a little time, then time is in the wine. What do you do?
I'm so tired of pretending that you
This is the It's Just Us radio show. I'm Charlene Bowden. If you've just coming to join us, I am sitting with Mr. Gareth Hunter. We are discussing his upcoming project, Blemishes of Perfection. And now, Gareth, I want to talk about some of the issues that are presented in your project. Red Flags, Blue Beginnings.
Wow. Red Flags, Blue Beginnings is on the dialogue. And I called it Red Flags, Blue Beginnings. The red flag is the first sign that something is wrong. Blue is normally a color, except for the pretty shirt you have on.
Ooh.
Normally, blue is affiliated with sad times.
Normally,
something sad.
okay.
Normally,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
except for clothing. But so that's why I call it Red Flags, Blue Beginnings, which gives a overlay with the relationship of the husband's coming home from work, and he pretty much doesn't want to be bothered. The wife is approaching him. She really wants attention, and they're pretty much both as being very selfish people, and that's pretty much the gist of that. That's actually the first one that's featured on my website right now.
Okay. Does that involve conversations around spending quality time? Or is that more, I just need space, I just need to come in and be for a minute, this is my home, this is my castle, the world has been pulling and tugging me out here?
Definitely all of the above. The one thing I like about Eden Adele, who responded to that, is she gave suggestions, which one of the suggestions she gave was that the husband be allowed a certain amount of time to walk in and just unwind, but also the husband to be mindful of the fact that there's a wife there. He should be appreciative of the fact that somebody even wants to, know how your day was, what's going on, and then at some point they just make time to engage one another and conversate. So yes, it's about all those things: the me time, the private space, those type of things that come with relationships.
Yeah. Okay, and the second issue, life or death?
Life or death came from the scripture that talks about the power of life and death being in the tongue.
Okay.
And that one is actually a dialogue that is edited. That's the one that I edit out on another version of that dialogue.
Okay.
Because it's a nice amount of profanity in that one.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. When I finished it, I questioned if I was going to keep it at all. And there's a pastor who's a dear friend of mine, has been my pastor before when I lived in that city, Pastor George Edge. I asked him to listen to that one in particular. And if he would have told me, Gary, leave it alone, it's bad taste, I would have cut it. But he felt like that it was a necessary component in line with everything else, because it needed to show how the couple, how they're cutting into each other.
Yeah.
With their words.
Is that the one bringing up past mistakes and?
Is
that it? Okay.
The wife is not over what the husband has done in the past, and he's frustrated by the fact that she won't let go of it. And she's frustrated by the fact that, she feels that he's not owning up to what he did.
And I kind of agree with that. I thought that was an important piece beyond the language, because I was just sharing with somebody recently how it takes a lot for us to get your true feelings, your heart out of you. And then we take that, and whenever things get rough, tricky, whatever, we just toss it right back at you, and it's like, bringing up past mistakes.
Right.
How do we want that information. We want you to, to trust your heart with us. But I'm curious as to how can we get both? How do we get that from you and then not hurt you with it when we feel that you have hurt us? Because we know that's what's going to hurt you the most.
Right. What's been amazing to me is when I get certain responses through email, especially how many. This is a lot of men are seeing themselves in the woman, and a lot of women are seeing themselves in the man. So it's not a man or woman behavior.
Right.
It is something that happens in relationships. It's almost like opposites attracting. It seems like, I think the biggest thing that even I took away myself from the whole process was the goal is for that couple to get on the same page, the same paragraph at least. And this couple spends a lot of time, they're in the same book, but they're on total different pages from one another. One person wants to be connected, the other person doesn't want to be connected. One person wants to forgive, the other person is not going to forgive nor forget anything. So it was interesting to see the whole process go where it ended through that dialogue.
Wow. So we're going to listen to some more of Gareth's music throughout the show. We're going to insert interludes of some of your songs. So what would you like for us to kind of tie in with this message now? And then we're going to keep going through the issues.
So song-wise?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can do Fell Under Pressure. I like that one.
Fell Under Pressure?
Fell Under Pressure.
Fell Under Pressure. We'll be right back.
Separated by my feelings, you always knew that I tried to be faithful only to you and me. She was fine as hell to look at, and now you're hearing that I hit that. You never wanna make time for us, so now I gotta get scandalous, girl.
You wasn't ready, so I hit it and hit it. You wasn't ready, she was ready, she waited.
Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe.
You said no, she said more and more. You wanted what the bitch, she just wants to explore.
Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. It's not all about the sexing, but you simply like affection. You always say you're too tired to be my lady outside the freaking side for me. You created so much distance. She just gave me some assistance. She played me like I was desperate, but I can get mine without your help.
You wasn't ready, so I hit it and hit it.
So I hit it.
She was ready, she waited.
Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe.
You said no, she said more and more. You wanted what the bitch, she just wants to explore.
Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe. Fell under pressure, babe.
You wasn't ready, so I hit it and hit it.
I hit it.
She was ready, she waited.
She was waiting.
Welcome back. This is Charlene Bowden, and It's Just Us, the radio show. I know you're seeing us today. We're so excited that we are able to start bringing you some videos so you can see what I do when I'm on location. You can get to see my guests, get to learn more about them. And I'm with Mr. Gareth Hunter. We are discussing his upcoming project, Blemishes of Perfection. We have been listening to Gareth's music. We've been talking about some issues. Glad you're with us. You just heard Fell Under Pressure. Gareth, tell me more about Fell Under Pressure.
Fell Under Pressure features Zuri Craig, dear friend of mine, and actually it's MC Jaboy is what he called himself. Jason Carey. Jason Carey is a jack of all trades. He's an MC. He's a businessman. He's a host of a lot of events around Metro Atlanta. Fell Under Pressure. I wrote that song a number of years ago, and it talks about infidelity, really, and it's a man explaining to his woman, or his wife in this case, why he cheated. And it really is interesting to me because it gets a little, it's tastefully graphic is what I call it. You know, it talks about the sexual dynamics that are missing in the relationship. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the stereotypical excuses that a lot of people make for cheating by pointing the finger at someone else.
Okay.
But that's pretty much what it is. And this song actually is going to be, I've done 4 versions of that song. I did another version that has 4 MCs on it.
Okay.
And 1 dance hall artist on it.
Okay.
I've done another version of this song in particular that features Beanie Man.
Okay.
From, dance hall fame, the legend.
Right, right.
And trying to close out all the business ends on that before we can do a full release on it. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of that song.
Okay. Moving down the list of the issues, Reasonable Doubt.
Reasonable Doubt. The husband is on the phone late at night, and the wife overhears him use the word baby.
Okay.
in which she assumes he's on the phone with the woman. What's interesting is I'm actually in the process of changing that interlude up.
Okay.
Because right now the way it sounds as if the husband is getting caught in an inappropriate conversation with the woman he's cheating with. What you're going to hear is you're going to actually hear the dialogue with the woman, with the
okay.
husband, and you're going to hear that the relationship, even though I still feel it's inappropriate, because the husband shouldn't be, there's just certain things you shouldn't be doing if you're married, but it's going to show that the relationship is platonic. Because I wanted to pull it away from the stereotypical the man as being a dog, because then every other issue that takes place after that dialogue is kind of justifiable. The man, at that point, the man doesn't have any leg to stand on and complain if he's out, he's got some woman on the side or whatever.
Yeah.
But that right now, reasonable doubt is the kind of the peak of the issues come out right there.
Okay.
The lack of trust, the man feeling inadequate and feeling the need to reach out to someone else, because the wife hasn't been there, and
Glad
all
you
that
said
stuff.
that. Yeah, because one thing I was thinking about when I was listening to everything, all of your music and the dialogue, was about this. I don't want to call it a concept. I don't want to say it's a belief, because it's probably very actual and true, about a man wanting to be needed. Talk about that from a male's perspective. So that we women can understand what it is when you all say, "I just want you to need me."
Well, I think that's a basic concept of most men, of most people, really, if you stop and break it down.
Yeah.
I really feel like the overall emotions in the relationship are just, they're unisex. I think at certain times of the day, if you will, that those emotions are stronger in the man versus the woman. But overall, as a man myself, probably one of the most important things in me is to feel needed. In that need, I find my place with the woman.
Okay.
And I think that's very important for men.
So what is a need? So I can say, so a need for me might be, I need you to always take out the trash or do the chores. I need for you to always. But then even in the midst of that, I may be a very independent woman. I may be a strong woman. I may have stuff in a life going on, outside of our marriage. And then it comes up, hey, you don't need me.
Right.
So what does that need when you got the head going, you don't need me? What is that?
It's funny to me because I think it's a very difficult balancing act for both people, because realistically, especially in these days and times, if you have a couple that's together in one household like that, it usually takes two incomes just to make ends meet.
Right.
So the woman is oftentimes out working just as hard as the man. She's coming home just as tired as the man, dealing with just as much stress as the man. And she works hard enough to the point to where realistically, if she's by herself, she would not have a need for this man. The key, in my opinion, is to leave some space there for that man to feel in certain things. But you learn that through communication.
Okay.
And I think that's the biggest thing that this whole dialogue and the whole project puts out is communication is the key.
Yeah.
My belief is always, if you can talk through it, you can walk through it. If you shut up and shut down, it's over. So, needs is based upon that individual, and it's based upon the other individual caring enough to ask the $1 million questions of, what's your love languages?
Yeah.
What are your needs how can I make you feel needed? How can I make you feel appreciated? And then actually listen.
Right.
And receive from a non-defensive place.
Ooh,
Good luck on that.
Non-defensive place, right.
Good luck on that one.
So it's okay. So your next issue then is less talk, and we just kind of talked about less talk.
Right.
But let me throw this in before we go on to the next issue, which is really big. We may take a break before we go into the next one. But one conversation again that I'm having across the board, and even getting ready to do some other projects around this, is how we're communicating now. We are relying so heavily on texting, instant message, anything that involves either one of these motions versus human communication. We've somehow got to get back to, because people are really getting uncomfortable with just sitting and having a conversation across a table, across a room, because I can just text you over there, and it's going to get there the same way as if I walk over and talk to you. So if we're doing that as a society, as a whole, and incorporating that into our schools now with our babies, how can we get that comfort level back on a one-on-one?
Turn it off. Turn the phone off, turn the computer off. Let me tell you something. If I could get away from even having text message on my phone, it wouldn't even be there. Anybody that knows me, texting for me is basic information, be it such and such a place or whatever. But if it's anything that could be emotional, don't send me a text, hey, last night when you said such and such, I'm not going to respond to it.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's just totally emotionally removed. People have to put forth a conscious effort of two things, accountability and responsibility, which take accountability or responsibility for your level of relationship you claim you want. If you claim you want an intimate relationship with, whether it be your mother or be your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife,
Right.
then you have to intimately connect with these people on a consistent basis, and that is not done through texting or through emailing. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Whew, we're going to take another break.
Cool.
Because we're going into cheat reasons.
Oh Lord.
Right. So listen to some more of Garrett's music. This is the It's Just Us radio show coming to you on location. We'll be right back.
Shocked is an understatement. You were downloaded straight from heaven. Fireworks lit up the atmosphere, anticipating us hooking up forever. Picture perfect, you're the girl in all my dreams. I already hear wedding bells start to ring. I'm turned up thinking about the possibility you'll spend your life with me. Gotta be you, not just any pretty face will do. No one in the crowd got me jogging like you. Nobody around got me locked in like you. Gotta be you. If I got with another girl, I'd lose. Straight up, real talk. I gotta be you. Sweetheart, you're contagious. No need to find a cure, I wanna stay here. Pretty lady, be my baby. Girl, I promise you won't regret this arrangement. Picture perfect, you're the girl in all my dreams. Wedding bells start to ring. Thinking about the possibility you'll spend your life with me.
Welcome back. I'm Charlene Bowden. It's Just Us radio show. Sitting with Mr. Gareth Hunter. Cheat reasons.
Cheat reasons. That's the part in the dialogue that the couple actually, they sit down after the confrontation about the late night phone call that the husband was caught with, and they actually discuss why they are where they are, and he comes out with he was on the phone with another woman, and they pretty much lay out on the table why they're disconnected, different reasons for cheating. The husband especially is explaining why he fell under pressure, as he called it.
Okay.
And it rolls, kind of snowballs kind of downhill from there. Still both of them kind of pointing the finger. Well, not even kind of, both of them still pointing the finger at each other instead of taking accountability for their own actions.
Wow. When I think about cheat reasons, it's like my cheat justifications, you know, because you didn't, or because usually you, like you said earlier, it's you, it's the finger pointing in the other direction. You're the reason why I made the choices that I make. Again, communication, but even in that, there has to be some very streamlined and very specific questions that are asked in that conversation to truly get the answer, either for you or for me, why I'm cheating.
Right.
You know, I was just telling my daughter the other day, when you think about nature and how the trees bloom and the flowers bloom and how we go through the seasons, we see outwardly what's going on, but underground, there's a whole different transformation happening with the roots. So if we can get to the roots, if we can get to the base, to the bottom of, for real though, why are you doing what you're doing?
Right.
And then you have to be really, really for real with yourself and giving that answer back to the other person.
Right. Well, I'm a firm believer that when it comes to cheating, because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've cheated and I've been cheated on, like most people have at some point in their life. But for me, I would cheat because I wanted to cheat, period.
Okay.
I can bring in 1,000 different reasons of she wasn't doing this or because she hurt my feelings or whatever the excuse is. But I'm a big believer in keeping things eye focused, of just really constantly looking at myself and constantly just accepting accountability and responsibility for it. And unfortunately, sometimes that didn't stop me from doing wrong. It just, I just, hey, I'm doing this because I just want to do it.
Yeah.
And at least I wouldn't blame the other person for my stupidity. But it's interesting to me because all of this dialogue none of it's written. We just came up with titles,
Okay.
and we just went at it. So it's funny. So both of us, her and I, are both really pulling from our own experiences
Okay.
with being in these places. So it was interesting to me to really hear her when my character was responding to her about, let me do that again. It's very interesting to hear from her when my character is really challenging her about being disconnected. And what I found most interesting is she pointed to him and said, "You're disconnected from me too." And I think at that moment, that's when my character really realized, wait a minute, I'm just disconnected from her as she is from me. And I remember at that moment feeling that way because I was really digging into, my character and everything. And really, I was really starting to feel like I was kind of a victim of this woman just abandoning me. And then all of a sudden I realized they've abandoned each other. Nobody's present anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's something. The first step. So we're getting into the building process. So the first step.
The first step is peaceful. The first step is they actually sit down and they both, I felt tired by that time in the dialogue, and they actually sit down and discuss what's wrong from a standpoint of accountability,
Okay.
self accountability. And they really lay on the table what's going on, what's wrong, and that's when you see the first signs of a desire from both of them to actually address the problems, not each other. And I think
Right.
from my own experience, a lot of times in relationship, people too often times attack one another as opposed to attacking the problem. And there is a way to do that, to just really attack the problem. So they're both tired. They're no longer defensive, which is a great thing. And they just want to deal with this issue that's laid on the table. I think Colette Harris, she did a great job at that point of really pushing through discussing it from a female standpoint, because in reality, most women, after hearing their husband on the phone like that, wouldn't have had much to say. I mean, in the real world.
Yeah.
But I think she understood that she had to create a dialogue so that that whole issue could be pushed out, as to the man being able to say, this is why I did it, and you're not doing these things for me, and then her to respond to that. Because it's funny, she was able to say to him or ask him, how would you feel if I did the same thing? Because I have needs too that you're not meeting. And this is what was so odd to me. I was so in the moment that before I even thought about it, my response was, that would be a big problem. I mean, it was like immediate, I mean, that was the real me responding to that.
Yeah.
And she laughed, she said, yeah, that'd be a problem. But this is what you're doing though. So you can dish it. Man, we're great at that. We could dish it, but Lord, we can't take that. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah. I really enjoyed listening to the dialogue between you and Colette. It was thoughtful and thought-provoking as well. And there are two more issues, love languages and Love Me Still, and we've kind of touched a little bit on love languages. And for time's sake, we're not going to really dive into Love Me Still. We're going to let people actually listen to the project themselves and draw their own conclusions and pull their pieces together.
Right.
In doing this, and you've mentioned several times of how some of you really came out into this, even though you were in character, if you will. What is your biggest desire for people to take away and to walk away with from this project?
Wow. that if you want a healthy relationship, communication is key. And if you want a healthy relationship, it is extremely important to deal with self first. You must know yourself before you can connect yourself with someone else. Mm-hmm. You can't expect for someone else to understand you if you don't have a clue about yourself and what makes you tick, your likes and dislikes. And then on top of that, especially if there is a bad issue with bad communication or lack thereof. One thing I've learned is that everybody communicates. It's either verbal or nonverbal. Mm-hmm. I remember there was a counselor that I was close to, and she would get on my nerves when she would talk about nonverbal because I didn't believe in it. But through life experience, unfortunately, I experienced that. And I now understand that. But I think the main thing, just to share with you, there was a lady that sent me a message after I allowed some people to submit their email addresses and everything for a chance to hear the snippets of the album and dialogue. And she shared with me about how she had been divorced for 12 years and how listening to the material, she realized that the reason why certain things had not gone right since then is because she was still 12 years in the past of hurt and pain and devastation. Yeah. And at that point, I just really encouraged her, I love counseling. Seek counsel so you can let it out. You've got to process it. You've got to talk. Communication starts with self-communication, and then you can talk to other people that are professionals in the field.
So I want to share, you mentioned what people are saying. I want to share a little bit of what people are saying about their experience in listening to your music as well as to the dialogue. I believe all songs portray falling in and out of love and trying to get back to love. I truly understand the story behind the lyrics, and I encourage people as you're moving forward and with everything, yes, hear the dialogue, but listen to the lyrics. They're very thoughtful lyrics in your music, very thoughtful. Blemishes of perfection chart us the imperfect passages we sometimes take to relationships and clarifies the perfect blemishes that are the scars of the journey.
Oh.
Yeah, when I saw that, it's like, wow,
And all them fancy words, too. I'm like, man, I'm not, you got to slow that down for somebody with my brain. But that's beautiful.
It is. And that's very rich comments about what you're doing. And I applaud you for taking the time and to having the heart and the desire to even do this. This was work. And I know you're still a work in progress, but you've put in a lot of thoughtful work into what you're doing here, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you. And I would be doing a disservice if I wasn't really honest. I've been so fortunate to have a good team of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, when this thing is printed up and you look at the list of credits, there's going to be a lot of writers and other musicians and that have worked with me. Larry Henry, who is the most featured vocalist on the whole album, he writes a few of the songs as well. Jeffrey Lewis, who's on What Do You Do? Mm-hmm. Jeffrey is literally like a brother to me. I mean, we've been working together, and I mean, we have a serious personal relationship as well that dates back. We both have the same tattoo on our arms from the first song that I had airplay on, which was the first song he had airplay on, called Round Around years ago. So we're real close. So there's a number of people that have just been helpful, This thing takes time, effort, and money, and a lot of which I do not have. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it wasn't for my promoter, Alan Johnston, making certain moves that he makes, Rod Kelly, who connected me to you.
Yeah, right.
Just God is good through people.
Yes.
And that is my biggest blessing. And I'm really big on just pointing out to people, my focus has been to be obedient to the calling. Mm-hmm. And I've always learned through all these years that whenever I do that, everything is laid out there in front of me, so.
Well, best wish, I won't say good luck, best wishes to you
Yeah, we'll
as
go
you
with
move
that.
forward. What's your contact information?
First thing is the website, www. Oh, you don't have to do that anymore. GarethHunter.com, GarethHunter.com. And also you can meet me see me on Facebook. You can inbox me. I respond to all inbox comments. Except for, somebody hit me up on Facebook yesterday. Asked me to pay their college tuition for the semester.
Real?
Yeah,
okay, it
Facebook.
wasn't me.
I'm like, dude,
first.
I don't know you like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. That just came out. But yeah, so Facebook. But if you go to the website, GarethHunter.com, every other icon is there to go to. Every Instagram, Twitter, all of that, to where you can reach out to me and stay in touch.
Great. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you for
here,
having me. I
taking
appreciate it.
time. I appreciate it.
And thank you for the water.
You're welcome for the water. I'm Charlene Bowden. Thank you so much for tuning into the It's Just Us radio show. Look forward to seeing more from us on location. Again, this is a new thing that we're doing. We've done a lot of new things, got some more things coming up. Also look out for the It's Just Us talk show with my co-host Samantha Welton and Lauren Lopez de Osua. I want to thank my audio producers. I want to thank my video producers, Mr. Joe Phillips and Carrie. Thank you so much. I cannot do what I do without you guys. I really appreciate you. You can email me at itsjustus@mail.com for any show ideas. Please reach out to our guests as always on the broadcast. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm on Twitter sometimes. If you tweet me, I'll try to tweet you back. I'm still getting into the social media stuff. Again, I'm Charlene Bowden. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time.